It's always a pleasure to be with this group of thoughtful and highly concerned people uh, online. And today, I'm here in Rishikesh in Uttarakhand, India. And Professor Murthy is also, who's online, is also here in the hotel with us. Um, we had a unique human rights meeting this morning with Swami Chatanan, and he is the central Swami in Parmath Niketan, one of the big ashrams that is on the Ganga here in Rishikesh. And they are working on a manual, interfaith manual for rights for women and girls. And it is very powerful. They're doing it both in Hindi and in English. And they're drawing on the manual is for faith leaders, for preachers and swamis and imams, and it draws on the literature, the religious literature of each of these religions, from Buddhism to Islam to Hinduism and so on, to Christianity. And it shows that in that religious literature, the divine imperative embraces women and men equally, and the divine power illuminates women and men equally. And so what they're trying to show is that these scriptures are misinterpreted by the chauvinist traditions in various religions, including Hinduism and Islam and Buddhism and so on. Christianity is part of that too, a very chauvinist religion. And so the Swami Chittanan embraces human rights and human rights for women, equal rights for women, the unity in diversity. And so we were privileged to be guests in this workshop that they were doing this morning. We are here because in all likelihood, the next session of the Provisional World Parliament under the authority of the Earth Constitution will take place at this ashram here on the Ganga River, probably next October. And we will be announcing this. Welcome, Professor Hussain from Dhaka. I see you online here. So we will be announcing this as soon as the details of the dates and so on are worked out. You may know that the Provisional World Parliament that took place in New Delhi last December passed a monumental women's rights document, women's rights law. And many of the items in the document that we passed last December are in the document that's being developed here at Parmath Niketan. And I invited them, when the Parliament meets here in next October, I invited them to submit this document on interfaith understanding and how to empower and embrace the equality and dignity of women and girls worldwide, to introduce that into the Parliament, and the Parliament can declare that as a declaration of the Parliament to help disseminate this wonderful work. So that's some of the news about human rights that we have encountered today and will be last December, and again we'll be working on it next October. We'll have human rights as part of the World Parliament that we're doing. So I think there's progress here and there's good news, and so I just wanted to introduce our work with that item of news. If there's more discussion later, I'd be glad to participate. But thank you all.
Thank you, Professor Glen. Thank you very much for your short but very focused address. Thank you again. And at the same time, we saw Phyllis there. Thank you, Phyllis, for joining us at the same time. Phyllis, greetings from the whole group. Yeah, greetings from the whole group. Yeah,
I'm listening even if I'm not attending.
Yeah, you are in India this time also.
Yes.
You could make it, so we must meet. Greetings and welcome to the country, India. And we're so happy that we are enjoying the Human Rights Day with all of you, including Wasef, Mehboob Hussain, and everybody from various corners of the globe. Welcome, everybody. Now, with this, Phyllis, I'm just going ahead in the lecture series.
Please.
We have with us the first speaker, Madam Madhuri Isava. She happens to be Miss. She is a very well-known associate professor in Tilak College of Education, Pune. And she has been attending so many conferences, achieving so many awards, and her research work goes a long way. And she has worked very much for the peace education, at the same time, human rights education. With this brief note, I would request Madam Madhuri to carry on with her deliberations. Madam Madhuri, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So very good evening, all. I am very much thankful to Dr. Hemlata, ma'am. She had given me opportunity to share my view about this very auspicious day today. We are celebrating the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The topic is very good. I'm going to present about the brief note on this topic, Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Very short introduction of this topic. Then we'll connect my presentation with human rights plus sustainable development goal, and little bit the situation of India and what will be the role of education to create awareness about the human rights. So this is very short presentation, ma'am, given me only 5 minutes. So within this time, I will justice my topic. So myself, Dr. Madhuri. My topic is the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. As we know, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, UDHR, is a milestone document in the history of human rights. It was adopted in 1948 by the United Nations in Paris. It has been translated into 500 languages, and it is widely accepted by developed and developing countries. Near about 192 countries have signed the UDHR. It was the first international agreement on the basic principle of human rights. For the first time, international human rights to be universally protected. And Constitution of India provides for fundamental rights, which includes freedom, justice, equality. Promotion and protection of human rights is the main purpose of UDHR, we all know. In the Indian cultural context, values are most important and human rights based on these values. It includes right to life, right to health, and right to freedom. Human rights are the basic rights and freedom that belongs to all people in the world from birth to death. What is UDHR? I just highlight these points. What is UDHR? It contains 30 articles, and that articles can be divided into 6 groups. I'm not going into detail because very short time, so I'm just briefing this. Article 1 and 2 related to the human dignity, equality, and brotherhood. Article 3 to 11, right of the individual, right to life, outline of slavery or torture, equality before the law, the right to a fair trial, etc. Article 12 to 17 related to freedom of movement, the right to a nationality, the right to marry and found a family, as well as the right to own property. spiritual and religious rights of individuals, such as freedom of thought and consciousness, that is religious, the right to your own opinion, right to peaceful assembly and association, and the right to values and take part in government, that is included in Article 18 to 21. Article 22 to 27 related to social, economic, and cultural rights of the individual. They include the right to work, the right to rest and leisure, the right to decent standard of living, and the right to education. And Article 28 to 30 has been related to right to social order, community duties, freedom from state or personal interference in the above rights. If you take the review of these 30 articles, it is included the all life of human being in this right. We are very fortunate because for our rights, we have someone there, so we feel very protective, very safe in this community environment. As we know, the 17 Sustainable Development Goal, 17 Sustainable Goal and human rights are very much correlate with each other. Sustainable Development Goals focused on the people, human rights, and society. And it was also adopted by world leaders. Human rights also initiated by civil society. We can say fulfill the human rights and achieve the sustainable development goal. Means to achieve the target of sustainable development goal, what are the indicators specified in each and every goal? We must fulfill the human rights and our responsibility toward the to fulfill the goal of sustainable development. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development set out a vision for sustainable development grounded in international human rights standards. The UDHR stated that everyone is entitled to participate in, contribute to, and enjoy economic, social, cultural, and political development. Human rights and sustainable development goals are two sides of one coin. We are living in cyber physical world. In education 4.0, very soon it will convert into 5.0 also. And science and technological innovation revolution. There is a need for human right based approach to take the benefit of scientific advancement. Also to ensure people have basic needs and also allow people to stand up to social corruption, because each right play an important role in the well-being of any human. Human rights society full of inclusiveness and responsible citizen is need for nation building. For this, local government should take initiative to create awareness about human rights and responsibilities of citizens to make healthy human rights society. Education play an important role to create awareness among students through curriculum, teaching, and co-curricular activities also. So, at last, we can say education, teachers, and all stakeholders can play very important role to create awareness, to create the healthy human rights society. In and all over the world, governments, organizations, and individuals are working hard to protect the human rights and provide the equality. But on the grassroots level, reality is different in the era of pandemic situation we can observe. In pandemic, we can see the very inequality and violence of
Madhuri
human
Madam,
rights are quite.
excuse me. Madhuri Madam,
Yes,
excuse me.
yes. I just sum up.
Okay.
So at last we can say when we fight for the rights, we do not forget our duties and responsibility. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Madhuri Madam. And you have pointed out. Hello.
Now,
Yes. If the forum can hear me, this is Dr. Guha again. And I would thank Madam Madhuri for giving the wonderful suggestions in record time. Thank you, Madhuri. And your point that local government should participate in implementation of human rights, then only, yes, it should start from home, community to local government, then to state, then to such that the whole step by step it would go to the global peace. Thank you very much, Madhuri Madam. We'll take up your topic again. And I believe as there is time constraint, the second speaker is ready here, and that is Dr. Guha, I myself. Ushashi is going to speak on human rights for global peace in various countries. And if I can show my slides, I believe that something I can do. I'm Ushashi Guha. I'm nothing, but I am a worker of human rights. I'm no champion because working in the field of human rights, sky is the limit. And I'm just a drop in the ocean of human rights workers. So I'm just making efforts. With all that I heard from Glen and Madhuri Madam, I would be just talking about few points which is happening in various countries. And so what happens that every year on Human Rights Day, there is a message given by United Nations Secretary General. Now, United Nations Secretary General addresses to the whole globe, everybody. Everybody means India, Bangladesh, or you say Europe, Africa, everybody. So, this year's this year's address talks about what? This is supposed to be the 75th anniversary of the landmark Universal Declaration, which just now Dr. Madhuri spoke. And he says that I urge member states, just we have to see, I wish this I could show everybody, but otherwise I will just go on saying what the address talks about, the 75th anniversary of the landmark Universal Declaration on Human Rights. Okay, this is the 75th anniversary. So on this day, the United Nations Secretary General says that, very brief, the world is facing unprecedented and interlocking challenges to human rights. The whole concept of human rights is under challenge because everywhere violence, war, so many illegalities is happening. The very first point, which Glen Martin also said, that today there are so many challenges to human rights, and human rights itself is under threat, though we are celebrating 75th anniversary. Look at the points. Hunger and poverty are increasing. Economic and social rights of hundreds of millions of people are infringed. Civic space is shrinking. Media freedom and safety of journalists are in danger. Trust in institutions is evaporating, especially among young people. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to increased levels of violence against women and girls. This forum, we are today here, how many people? As many as 29. All of us, we understand that COVID-19 was a pandemic and there were so many problems. But one more human rights problem was very grim and grave, increased levels. So I'm talking about what is happening to various countries, not only India or America or Europe or Bangladesh or Jordan or the places that we are representing. Because the whole 29 people who are gathered here, we think of globe. Pandemic has led to increased level of violence, racism, intolerance, and discrimination. We 29 over here, we are tolerant to each other. There is no discrimination. But what is happening to the globe? To educated and uneducated, everybody, many, excepting or barring few, racism, intolerance, and discrimination. New human rights challenges are emerging from planetary, forming the planetary crisis. Planetary crisis, whole planet is in threat. Climate change, biodiversity, pollution. These are the threats. And we are only beginning to grasp the threat posed to human rights by some new technology. Though we have so many new technologies, but this is just the beginning. We are trying to cope up with climate change, cope up with biodiversity, cope up with pollution. But technology cannot lead us to cope up with racism, intolerance, and discrimination. These trying times are calling for reignition of our commitment to all human rights. Now, this all human rights, I do emphasize upon. All human rights are which? Civil, cultural, economic, political, and social. Now, the United Nations is calling all of us, the call to action. The action was called in 2020, 2 years back. But the solutions are very few. We are still facing challenges, my friends. This vision of United Nations, it calls for a renewed social contract, renewed technology for observance of human rights. And then the Secretary General very honestly, very humbly says that I urge member states, civil society, the private sector, and others to put human rights at the heart of efforts to reverse today's damaging trends. Today, the trend of war, trend of climatic change, trend of all the threats of human rights are to be reversed. So on this day, we are required to take a pledge. We are required to make a form a strategy such that in our own ways, in our civil society, in our member state, in our country, and then globally, the damages should be reversed. Human rights are the foundation for human dignity and the cornerstone of peaceful, inclusive, fair, equal, and prosperous society. Human rights are the unifying force. Human rights are the unifying force. They reflect the most fundamental thing we share, our common humanity. This is the common language, my friends. On this Human Rights Day, we reaffirm the universality and indivisibility of all rights as we stand up for human rights for all. So with this, my friends, I believe that I've spoken enough, and very briefly saying that in each of the countries throughout the globe, there are violations. But if there is a group which has promised to curb the violations, to make peace, nobody can deter us. Right from the top to bottom, I just wanted to show a slide in which I had shown who are the champions of human rights in this era. And everybody would agree with me that for human rights education, Dr. Gulab Chaurasia, who is no more, but he happens to be one of the foremost champions of human rights education. My salutes to Dr. Gulab Chaurasia. We have Dr. Professor Glen Martin, who is relentlessly working for human rights, and I believe that whatever strategies he forms through through WCPA, the strategies should really reverse the damages that have been made. In the champions, I must take the name of Dr. Hemlata Talesra, who has been also working for more than 50 years for human rights of women and children in various fields. I could have shown my presentation in which all these photographs are put. Then I put the photograph of, of course, I should have put the photograph of Professor Menon, but I couldn't get one. And then I put the photograph of Dr. Kishori and Professor Murthy. In their own ways, they're spending their money, their time, their energy for the benefit of global peace, that is, for the benefit and betterment of human beings. So on this day, as United Nations Secretary General has urged, almost the same things Professor Glen Martin has addressed to us, we hereby make a pledge that we will work relentlessly, sincerely for global peace through education and through contributing to the society. Thank you very much. Greetings of the Human Rights Day. And call it not only a day, every day should be a Human Rights Day. Thank you all. Thank you. Now, I call upon Dr. Rajeshwari, Madam. Professor Dr. Rajeshwari, Madam. Let me introduce Dr. Rajeshwari. Yeah, in very brief words, Dr. Rajeshwari has always been with us, and she is a principal of Advanced Study in Education, Thrissur, Kerala. And she has been with us in WCPA, working for WCPA in the Kerala chapter of Human Rights Education and in the Council of Teacher Education also.
Yes.
Professor Rajeshwari, please.
Festival is going on, ma'am. That's here. Okay. Now the education, training, and values and information aimed at building a universal culture of human rights. A comprehensive education in human rights not only provides knowledge about human rights and the mechanisms that protect them, but also imparts the skills needed to promote, to defend, and to apply human rights in daily life. Human rights education fosters the attitude and behaviors needed to uphold human rights for all members of society. There lies the role of human rights education in promoting peace value education. Human rights promotion and protection build confidence in institutions and bridge societal divides by strengthening a sense of common values and shared humanity. It will promote peaceful resolution of conflict grounded in respect for the rights and dignity of others. It empowers people to know, to claim, and defend their rights. Peace, we know that it entails agreement and harmony among people. That is a fact. Why is human rights education important? It is important because of it is crucial for building and advancing societies that we all know, and we are experiencing that. It empowers people to defend their rights, duties, as well as responsibilities. It promotes participation in decision making and the peaceful resolution of conflicts. Encourages empathy, encourages inclusion and non-discrimination. It is an essential tool for human rights awareness as well as empowerment. Then students learn about their rights. rights, history, and everything during their schooling or during the education, then human rights education should be included in the curriculum. It should not be taught as watertight compartments or as discrete unit. It should be integrated with other disciplines. Thereby, it enables people to claim their rights. It teaches young people to respect diversity. It is a fact because it teaches them to respect diversity from an early age. It is because no matter the differences between people, that is, the differences between the people of different race, gender, ethnicity, language, culture, religion, etc., deserve certain rights. Human rights also protect diversity. Then thereby it promotes peace values. It teaches history. It teaches people to recognize the root causes of human rights issues. By identifying the roots of problems, people are better equipped to change their attitude, change the situations, change their thinking. That is, we know that people, for example, if they are able to know that homelessness is a human right issue, again, destitutes are there. They have to, they should have an awareness about the destitutes, who are, that means the poor among the poorest, the homelessness, the landless laborers, then the less paid laborers, landless farmers. All these are issues. Destitute means, especially in the northern states, their number is very large. Even though the authorities or government are taking much effort to solve the problems, it is again, we have to think about that for promoting peace, values. Again, human rights education, it will foster critical thinking and analytical skills, which are very essential for solving problems as well as for becoming empathetic. So thereby it encourages empathy and solidarity, which will promote definitely peace. It encourages people to value human rights. Thereby, definitely they will be able to identify the issues or the outcomes of violence, conflicts, and thereby they will try to refrain from such situations, and we can promote peace. Again, the human rights education fuels social justice activities. If people didn't know anything about human rights, positive change would be rare. That is a fact. When people are educated and equipped with necessary skills, that means through human rights education, we have already seen that they will develop analytical or critical thinking skills. They will work for social justice, definitely, at least in their communities. This includes raising awareness for the most vulnerable members of society and establishing supporting organizations that service basic needs, which will promote definitely peace. This is also a very well established organization with such eminent personalities led by the eminent philosopher Dr. Glen T. Here, people feel a stronger sense of responsibility to care for each other, believing in social justice and equality. It is an important step, but it often moves far beyond a desire. This is because of the wrong or the faulty measures we are taking, or not the right or systematic measures we are adopting while we are imparting human rights education. Then the human rights education helps people support organizations that uphold human rights, and keeps governments accountable. So, by promoting human rights education, definitely peace education can be promoted. Peace education, maybe we all know that it is the process of acquiring the values, the knowledge, the etc. Then lies the role of teachers. We know that critical thinking, analytical thinking, empathy, all these are very essential for a child to become socially desirable in every sense. Preparing students to act on their convictions. Hence, there is it is actually not a magic or magical approach to peace education. It will evolve and grow only through practice. So we have to, that means the peace education can be imparted by considering different methodologies. Students from the weighing education is not for conveying messages or for acquiring any knowledge. The students are to be provided opportunities to internalize all these concepts. Only by internalizing, progress will be there. So creating supportive classrooms, then visualizing these peaceful futures, and peace education makes special demands of teachers to make sure that their own classroom practices promote peace education. Teachers can make wonders in the classroom. That is from the elementary level onwards, irrespective of the level of levels, that is elementary or secondary or higher secondary or higher education. The teachers can act as mentors or facilitators in promoting human rights education. Thereby, they can promote peace value education. It is a fact. The
Dr.
encouraging these,
Rajeshwari, I believe, Dr. Rajeshwari.
yes, by I am only one more sentence. The
Yes,
teachers
yes.
should have to encourage, and thereby they can minimize or eliminate the unhelpful characteristics of children, which will lead to violence or conflict, and this will enable us to promote peace education. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rajeshwari. Internalization and how teachers play a very important role in spreading peace education throughout the globe, and how psychology of the students can be changed in the classroom. You have said it very nicely. And if we can think in this grounded level, I think the human rights violation will not happen. It will be curbed very quickly. Now, Madam Kishori, you are going to speak, or should I ask Chandravati Joshi? Yes, Dr.
I'll speak. Okay.
Yeah. Let me introduce you, Baba. Huh?
Yeah.
Me introduce you. Yeah. Dr. Kishori is already with us, and everybody knows Dr. Kishori, one of the champions of human rights, practitioners of human rights, and she belongs to the state of our Honorable President of India. And we are proud to say that Kishori ji has, in the full form, she has retired. In the full form means she is retired and joined the creed of serving the society. She has retired from CT Rourkela, Center of Excellence of Rourkela College, and she will present her views on human rights education for world peace in the context of sustainable development. A very important topic along with other topics. So, Madam Kishori, please deliberate your thoughts.
Thank you very much. From the outset, I would like to congratulate everyone for this great day. Reverend Glen, who is our inspirer, our director, our elder sister, Professor Talesra, friend Wasif, friend Professor Murthy, Ushashi ji, Saranya ji, my co-speakers, and the participant friends. I feel proud that I'm a part of this group. I'm a part of this system. I'll be sharing my experiences regarding this topic from my own experience because Glen has already spoken about human rights. Ushashi ji, Rajeshwari, and my other Madhuri ji, they have already spoken on this area. Two things I would like to say that why this human rights? Who should be the part of this human rights education system? Why should we go for peace education or for world peace? If we'll analyze our system of education, the very definition of education, it is clearly mentioned that ultimate aim of education is the transformation of human beings so as to make this beautiful world more beautiful, peaceful, and blissful. But what has happened? In reality, the aim of education in one side and our practice is on another side. We are not working in that line which has been mentioned in our system. The thing is, we are so self-centered, we are so concentric to our self that we are not bothering on others. We don't think for others. As a result, others' rights are not protected. When we are thinking about peace, peace is disrupted when basic fundamental rights of the human beings are not protected. Because this year, the theme is dignity, freedom, and justice for all. This has been significantly identified. And dignity, freedom, and justice, these three things are highly related with peace. When there is no dignity, there is tension. When there is no freedom of speech or freedom of living, there is no question of the meaning of life. If there is no justice, life becomes horrible. Friends, a horrible person, a scared person, a tortured person, an unhealthy person cannot achieve peace, cannot enjoy life blissfully, peacefully, and happily. Our life is the most important part of our existence. Our life is the greatest gift of God to the humankind. And we are not here only to make rival with others or to succeed, to achieve material status or material thing. Our life exists for our happiness of the world. Sarve bhavantu sukhino, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhagavet. This is the philosophy of Indian tradition, India. Everybody should be happy. Everybody should live happily. This should be the slogan of India. This should not be the slogan of India. This should be the slogan of the world, because peace is the ultimate truth. To me, achieving peace is the most important fundamental rights. And when we are thinking about fundamental rights, 5 rights to 7 rights, there are so many rights, but right to live, right to health, right to education and information, right to work, right to speech, right to religion and spirituality, right to friendship. These are all fundamental rights which are to be achieved to live a better life in the society, which has not been achieved till now. As a result, what happens? Recently, we are experiencing the result of Ukraine and Russia. Why it has happened? It is only because of the ego factor. It is only because of carelessness of people towards their own people, towards the world. Few years back, I had been to Helsinki, Finland. I met one lady, she was 95. When I asked her that how do you feel over here? She told me that everybody of here, of this country, they are happy and we are living peacefully because our rights are protected. We are getting free education and we are paying our tax in time because tax, they are paying their tax, they are performing their responsibility, they are performing their duties, and at the same time, the government of Finland, they are taking care of the people. So rights and responsibility both are interrelated, two sides of the same coin. So what happens here in many countries, our citizens are not getting protected. They are not being socially protected, economically protected, not even they are getting freedom to speak. At the same time, there are countries where government is providing everything. Even in 1 rupee, they are providing ration, means wheat and grain, etc., etc. And our people, they are not working and they are claiming for rights. So this leads to this leads to corruption, and this corruption leads to destruction in the society, and a destructive society cannot merge towards peaceful way or cannot merge for a peaceful world. So friends, it is high time to realize all those things, and it is high time to interlink this human rights education system with our education, because peace education cannot be achieved unless and until it will be involved with, interrelated with our course curriculum from the very beginning, and it will be practiced from the home. Not only this, it is not the responsibility of the teachers only. It is the responsibility of the social beings, different organizations, starting from sex worker to social worker, starting from students to the patient, starting from the doctors to the engineers. Everybody must be responsible. They should take this as a challenge, that this is our responsibility to take the to perform our duties in the society. It is to take as a challenge to make the world more beautiful. Unless and until we realize this, nothing can be done. NPE, National Policy on Education 2020, has highlighted on education for sustainable development through human rights education, but nothing much is given. A special type of educational platform has to be built up here. Our course curriculum, our syllabus should be changed in this direction so that sustainable development can be possible. Why sustainable development? Recently we had been to Bhutan, and Bhutan government is taking 1,200 per person per day as sustainable development fees. Why? They are thinking for their future. Whose future? The future of their children, because Bhutan is a very small country. They are dependent on other countries. Tourism is the only way of their earning. And nowadays, they are thinking that if this will continue, then nothing will be happen. This environment will be spoiled. The visitors, those who are coming, they will spoil their country. So they are taking fee, high fee. From India or Indians, it is only 1,200, but foreigners, it is more than that. So why they are thinking? Because they love to their country, and this should be the example. And each and every country, they should think about the sustainable development of their countries. Each and every individual, they should think for their sustainable growth and development, so that we'll feel free. Our dignity will be sustained. Our dignity will be there. We'll feel free to say something, to do something, and we'll achieve justice. Another thing, justice is the lower justice today. Justice is not achieved properly at any cost, because we are not considering justice as a fundamental right. although it is written in the preamble of Indian Constitution and World Constitution also. So it is our responsibility to give justice to others, achieve justice from others, and we should fight for that so that peace will sustain. Peace cannot be achieved without justice. Peace cannot be achieved without freedom. Peace cannot be just achieved without dignity. These are not achieved by the people. That's why in North Korea the problems are arose. These are not happen in Pakistan. That's why the people are suffering. So friends, this is high time to shake our hands and work together. We should think for the downtrodden, those who are debarred from justice, those who are not having the power of speech, those who are not breaking their silence, and we should allow them to break their silence, and we should work properly. Friends, only words are not sufficient. Our work has to be counted. And I'm very happy that Glen has taken a step for one constitution, one world, where we all are the members. And this is really a marvelous step towards achieving peace and to provide rights to others. Now, we should think for another type of education. You have given me a chance to speak something because I am already assigned something regarding integral education in another platform. At the same time, I'm working. So I beg apology from my co-speakers, from Glen and others, that immediately after this, I'll have to leave. Thank you very much for giving me the chance. Once again, namaskar to everyone and congratulations to everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kishori. You have given a fiery lecture as usual. And this fire has already been ignited in all of us. Our work should speak. That is some kind of promise that we are taking. We have with us a very honorable guest who is an educationist par excellence, who is a champion of human rights all over the globe, well known. That is Professor Dr. Pushpnadham. So after Dr. Pushpnadham, welcome, sir. You could make it here, and we are honored that you could be here and you have joined with us. Now, after we have a small request to Dr. Pushpnadham that after Dr. Madam Joshi, Dr. Chandravati Joshi, Principal and Associate Professor of PG College, Nainital, Uttarakhand. After her deliberation, I have a small request on behalf of the whole forum. Pushpnadham sir, you would be expressing few words of wisdom from your side on the subject. So now I call upon Dr. Chandravati Joshi, who is an associate professor and principal of MB Government PG College, Haldwani, Nainital, Uttarakhand. Madam Joshi, please. And only 5 minutes for you, because we all have been talking so much, and we look forward to you to make your points very clear, well focused, and brief, please.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving me an opportunity. I'll just within few minutes, I'll the topic which I have selected here today, human rights and 2030 agenda for sustainable development. As all co-speakers spoke about all the aspect of human rights, and we all know that on 25th September, the United Nations General Assembly unanimously adopted the resolution 17, transforming our world, the 2030 agenda for sustainable development. This historic document lays out the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which aims to mobilize global efforts to end poverty, foster peace, safeguard the rights and dignity of all people, and protect the planet. As sustainable development is a development, we all know, that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Sustainable development is advanced as the answer of achieving a more equitable, balanced, and synergic relationship between social, environmental, and economic needs. Sustainable development is a holistic approach that considers social, ecological, and economic dimensions, recognizing that all must be considered together to find lasting prosperity. The notion of social equity is taken into consideration when analyzing the rights-based approach to sustainable development. Social equity refers to a fair and just distribution of economic and environmental costs and benefits, community services like healthcare and education, the ability to participate in decision-making processes. Applying social equity means paying attention to disadvantaged groups in society, women, youth and children, the elderly, indigenous groups and ethnic minorities. In considering the relationship between human rights and sustainable development, the Center of 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development are the Sustainable Development Goals, a set of 17 goals and 169 targets across social, economic, and environmental areas of sustainable development. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is grounded in human rights. The 17 SDGs directly or indirectly reflects human rights standards. And as 17 goals are there, I'm not focusing about the goals, just that SDG targets are closely aligned with human rights standards. Although the SDGs themselves are not framed explicitly in the language of human rights, most targets explicitly reflect the content of corresponding human rights standard. For example, the SDGs address availability, accessibility, affordability, and quality of education, health, water, and other services related to those rights. There are targets on access to safe, nutritious, and sufficient food for all, universal health coverage, free, equitable, and quality primary and secondary education, access to safe and affordable water, sanitation, hygiene, and housing, and access to safe, effective, quality, and affordable essential medicines and vaccines for all. When analyzing the human right and courage of each sustainable development goal and its corresponding targets, an interrelated web appears. In other words, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and human rights are intertwined and inextricably tied together. The respect for and enforcement of human rights is a precondition for sustainable development. That implies that without acknowledging and acting to defend the rights of people, sustainable development is not possible. On the one hand, human rights provide guidance and a legally binding framework for tackling the multidimensional goals of the 2030 Agenda. On the other hand, the SDG can serve as a result-oriented roadmap for the realization of human rights. With the words of conclusion, we people have the major responsibility to establish global peace with the help of human rights education. As I am working in teacher training institutions where future teachers are prepared, human rights, I'll say, is one aspect of in the whole curriculum, and where we are trying to foster the importance of human rights and also to make them aware of practicality of human right processes in present scenario. As a teacher educator, it's our moral duty. If they all are little bit conscious, aware how on this part, it would be really how it can be done for the establishment of peace in the society, in the country, and it would be really a celebration of Human Rights Day for all of us every year. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Chandravati Joshi. You have really given some special points to think about. But then, the human rights education cannot be put at the backyard, but human rights education has to be put in the front, and then only all work can be done. All human beings can understand, learn, and get the knowledge. Now we have, of course, I can see Dr. Murthy's hand has been raised, but as I have already said, Dr. Murthy, 2 minutes, please, because our learned friend Dr. Pushpnadham is with us, and I have promised, I have requested him from on behalf of all of us that he may give us some deliberation and a piece of his wisdom on the subject. Yes, Dr. Pushpnadham, please. Yes, Dr. Pushpnadham, please. Welcome, sir. You are honored.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ushaji and the entire team for inviting me to speak on this human rights. You know, as we are celebrating the 75th Indian independence, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, in the similar way, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which happened on the 10th December in 1948, is also celebrating the Platinum Jubilee, the 75th Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So it's very important to see that how the notion of human rights has progressed over a period of time and where we stand today and what are our basic achievements to consider the human being as a potential being on this planet, and therefore the rights have to be exercised, and therefore the human beings can create a welfare society. Therefore, the particular slogan which the 75th year of human rights movement talks about the dignity, freedom, and the justice for all. I think the essential part of this, not by enforcing particular policies, particular rules, particular laws, but we must educate people to understand the importance of dignity, the human dignity, the importance of freedom, and the importance of the justice. Therefore, on this 75th Universal Declaration of Human Rights, we must see that lifelong learning is a human right. I think this is what the global trend is all talking about. From human rights to think about the lifelong learning, a dominant discourse that's happening world across, and how education can be made lifelong, which can ultimately create a kind of a society where human beings exercise full dignity, freedom, and the justice. You know, such kind of discourses are clearly seen in most of the international forums in terms of talking about education for all. And now there is a tension between education and learning. The opportunities are created, but the learning is not taking place. So the learning outcomes are not satisfied. And therefore, the tension between the education and the learning, the tension between the knowledge adaptation and the individual transformations, I think these have seen more and more in educational reports today. Therefore, when we see human rights to happen in the society, we need to see that lifelong learning practices are strengthened and the learning is taking place. Therefore, the individuals realize the importance of dignity, the freedom, and the justice for all. I think educators have a great role in this regard. You know, propagating the dignity, freedom, justice from what you call as an activist point of view, rather an educative point of view, I think that is something that we need to think about. We need to propagate the importance of dignity, freedom, and justice through educational programs where we make people understand its importance for a progressive society. And we are very lucky that National Education Policy 2020 clearly states we want to create a kind of equitable, inclusive society. You know, when you talk about equitable and inclusive society, we are moving from diversity to equity. We are trying to put efforts to go from segregation to inclusion. I think we have achieved a lot, and this is a long way to go. Whether you talk about the child rights, you talk about the women rights, you talk about the area in special education and disability rights, we have moved far away from what was in the history. Therefore, I'm very, very optimistic, and such notions and such slogans will unite the educationists, and it will make them to understand its importance and put their steps together to make this a reality. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Your learned words of wisdom are really very precious. L3, lifelong learning, you have connected very well to dignity, freedom, and justice in very brief words. This will go a long way in our working. It will be interwoven in all the work that we do. Thank you again, Pushpnadham sir. Now, hurriedly, I pass over to Dr. P. Murthy sir, along with Glen T. Martin sir, to express your views. Yes, Murthy sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Dignitaries on the panel and discussion forum. I was looking at our Earth Constitution, and very interestingly, the very first line starts with a reference to humanity. And the very first line in the preamble, I meant. And the preamble very clearly emphasizes the need to recognize human rights. In addition to that, I also saw Article 7.3 provides for a separate administrative department for human rights. And also, Article 12 very exhaustively brings out all kinds of freedoms and rights which are available for global citizens. Now, I'll just take 30 seconds, and this is a possibly a question to Dr. Glen, who is on the call. Since we are in the action-oriented mode now, Dr. Glen Martin, can we think of setting up of a commission for human rights and possibly get some people from each of these world districts, which we have already identified, to come on board of this commission and start working on it? Because I think we should not lose more time. So my question and request to Dr. Glen Martin to address this issue when he speaks. Thank you so much.
Yes, Murthy sir. Thank you for giving us a new insight onto the subject. Yes, Glen T. Martin, would you like to talk something on whatever Dr. Murthy said? Otherwise, hurriedly, my last request to Dr. Wasef, who has raised his hand. Yes?
Good evening to everyone, dear dignitaries in the panel discussion. Thank you very much to all of you who participated in this important discussion. I think when we talk about the human rights, when we say that every person has the right for learning, living, education, work, this is all these ideas are should be given by the government to all the inhabitants and all the people in the country, in each country. But what is more important for education for global peace, I think we have to give our children, the students at kindergartens, schools, universities, we have to teach them, to tell them what do you mean with the human rights. I think we can summarize this in a few words. We say, do not hurt anyone and no one will hurt you. If we give this idea to the people, this means that we have to awaken the human consciousness inside the individual from his childhood. Do not harm others. Do not kill others. Do not. You have to respect each one. We have respect the old people. Be kind to children or to the young people. Do not harm the other people, your neighbors in the society. Do not harm your neighbors, not only by killing them, or do not even by with the dishes that you prepare at home. That is, if you cook a certain type of food and your neighbor is not able to have such type of food, so do not harm him, his spirit, his psyche, by making him smell that food without giving him part of that food. So this means that there is a brotherhood in the society. Each person should feel kind to his neighbors, to the people who are living here and there. If we put these ideas in the minds of children from their childhood, in the future they become citizens and people in the society. And then they had said that we are human beings. We have to feel with each other. We have to cooperate instead of quarreling. We have to live peacefully, to be friendly with each other. So the students of today are the people of tomorrow. By this, if we manage to do this, to plant these ideas in the minds of the children of today, in the future, I think we gather.
Okay, Wasef, thank you very much. Yeah, your network has again started. Okay, thank you very much, Wasef. Glen, are you ready? Glen?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
please, because
yes,
time is running out.
Can you, I want to suggest something to the whole group here that hasn't been suggested yet. It's true that the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights is the UN SDGs are very holistic, and the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights is very holistic. But the UN Charter gives us a world system that violates human rights. Here's what has not been suggested yet. The world system of sovereign, militarized nation states violates human rights. Even if there's no war, it violates human rights. For India to have nuclear capable missiles aiming at Pakistan violates the rights of people in Pakistan. Right? At any moment, they could be wiped out by some mistake or some horrible conflict. Right? The capitalist system, which is behind the entire United Nations and the Sustainable Development Goals, no matter what they say, look at Article 17 of those goals. It says all the nations will be responsible for their own financing and actualization of these goals. And the way they can do this is take out reasonable loans, it says, reasonably fair loans from the World Bank and the IMF. The whole system of global capitalism, global growth of economy, and so on, the estimates of the product, the total product of each nation is supposed to grow. You cannot have infinite growth on a finite planet. The capitalist system, as we now know it, is destroying our planet and destroying human rights. 1% of the world's population owns 50% of its wealth, and hundreds of millions of people go to bed hungry every night. That is a product of the system. It's not just a product of people not caring about other people. It's a product of the system. And the spending of $1 trillion US a year by the nations of the world down the toilet of militarism, war and weapons and more people making billions of dollars. That violates our rights. The Earth Constitution gives us the right to peace and the right to a protected environment. And the only way that these can be achieved is if the UN Charter, not the UN, the wonderful UN agencies, the World Health and so on, UNICEF, they're very good. But the UN Charter violates our rights because it creates the system of sovereign militarized nation states, and it sees no way beyond that. We have to unite. Human rights are universal, and the Constitution of for the Federation of Earth is based on those universal principles. Not nations themselves cannot protect human rights. We need a world system based on human rights. So that's my message that I just wanted to convey to the group. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Glen Martin, for your good message. Now I call upon Madam Professor Nasrin Mujib to deliberate a vote of thanks to all the learned deliberation and to all the learned participants. Yes, Professor Nasrin, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Dr. Ushashi Guha. And it is my great pleasure and privilege to say thanks to all present here. My very special thanks to Dr. G.T. Martin, Global Peace Leader, who has provided strong force to think over the point human rights for global peace education. And his valuable presence is really a gift for us, and I pay my hearty thanks to him. I also pay my thanks to Dr. Ushashi Guha, Dr. Madhuri Isava, all the speakers or co-speakers, those who presented their views on the topic concerned. Dr. Ushashi Guha, Dr. Kishori Dash, Dr. Madhuri Isava, Dr. Rajeshwari Kerala, Dr. Chandravati Joshi, Dr. Pushpnadham, Dr. P. Nasrin, and all presented a kind of thoughts that is insightful thoughts and that enlightened our mind related to topic human rights education. I also pay my hearty thanks to Professor Hemlata Talesra ji, who provided us this platform to come on to think over the point and all together to discuss. He is really a mentor and facilitator to guide this group. Thanks to all international and national audience and participants for raising questions and participating in group discussion. And thanks to technical team organizing this panel discussion in such a organized way. And my best wishes and greetings to all for this wonderful day, Human Rights Day. May Almighty provide us strength to lead dignified life with freedom and justice. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nasrin, Madam. Once again, I thank everybody and I ask Hemlata Talesra to call upon the meeting to have been ended. Yes, Hemlata, Madam.
Okay. Thank you very much to all of you. Dr. Martin, who has given us a long time. Dr. Nasrin, Dr. Murthy, Dr. Ushashi, Dr. Nasrin, Dr. Kishori, and all.
Dr. Wasef.
Thankful to all of you. Dr. Wasef.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
very thankful to all of you.
Nasrin,
And
thanks again.
yeah.
And thanks,
Yes,
Bangladesh.
Dr. Nasrin also.
Thanks,
Yes.
Bangla team.
Yeah. And
Dr. Murthy has said.
Implement the suggestions we received today for implementation of human rights and colleges and other projects we can take for your suggestions and yeah. Okay, thank you very much.